Have you ever looked around and wondered why some people seem to have everything, yet still feel empty, while others, who may have far less, carry a deep peace and unshakable joy? Psalm 34:10 gives us a bold, unfiltered truth. The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. That's not just poetry, that's a promise, and it's not just for saints in the Bible. It's for you right now. We live in a world where hustle is glorified and anxiety is normalized. Everyone is chasing more money, more success, more followers. But what if the real answer to your lack isn't in chasing, but in seeking? Not in working harder, but in aligning deeper with the one who provides all things. This message isn't about religion. It's about reality. A reality where your source shifts from people to God, where your strategy comes from His wisdom. Where provision follows purpose, peace replaces pressure, and lack bows to divine order. If you've ever felt stuck in survival mode, if you've prayed and still felt empty, if you're tired of doing everything right and still falling short, then this word is for you. Because those who seek the Lord do not lack, not hope, not direction, not provision, not peace. Let's discover why. Let's unpack what Psalm 34:10 really means, and how your life can begin to reflect this powerful promise starting today. Psalm 34:10 contrasts two sources, self-reliance and divine dependence. Young lions represent raw strength, instinct, and independence. They are equipped to survive, yet they still lack. The message is clear. Human ability, no matter how sharp, has limits. Those who make God their source never lack, because His supply isn't based on conditions. It's based on covenant. Many depend on salary, titles, connections, or hustle as their source. These are channels, not sources. A channel can dry up, but the source remains constant. When you begin to seek God, you're no longer enslaved to unstable systems. God becomes your well that never runs dry. Example: a woman in real estate lost everything during a market crash. With her savings gone, she turned to seeking God in prayer and fasting, not for money, but for direction. Within months, she shifted into property management and gained consistent clients. She later testified, "I didn't just survive the crash. I found my real calling in it." That's the difference between chasing provision and connecting to the provider. Lions may roar and still starve, but those who kneel in God's presence rise in God's abundance. The danger of relying on yourself is that when you fail, everything collapses. But when you rely on God, even in moments of delay or disappointment, He sustains you. Seeking God doesn't mean you abandon effort. It means your effort is guided by His hand, not driven by fear. God doesn't want to just meet your needs. He wants to become your source. When that shift happens, peace replaces panic and wisdom replaces weariness. You stop living paycheck to paycheck and begin living from principle to promise. The word seek in Psalm 34:10 implies pursuit. It's not casual, it's intentional and daily. Scripture reinforces this in Hebrews 11:6. He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. Diligence draws divine attention. God doesn't respond to laziness. He honors consistency. Many pray once and expect lifelong breakthroughs, but those who make seeking God a lifestyle, not an event, walk under a different level of grace. Diligence reveals desire. God is not hiding. He's waiting for hunger. Real life story. A struggling musician made it his habit to begin each morning with worship and Bible reading, even when bookings were scarce. As he consistently honored God, things shifted. One video clip of his worship went viral. He received invitations globally, not because he chased fame, but because he pursued the Father. Diligent seekers find not just provision, but revelation. When you consistently seek God, you stop reacting to problems and start receiving divine strategies. You'll hear the whisper of God in chaos. You'll receive clarity others are begging for. Seeking God diligently doesn't mean locking yourself away all day. It means prioritizing Him over distractions. It means checking in with Him before checking social media. It's about building a habit of pursuit that heaven can't ignore. God never fails to show up where He is truly wanted, and when He shows up, lack has no place to remain. Lack is often misunderstood. Most people interpret it as failure, punishment, or abandonment. But in Psalm 34:10, the word clarifies that lack, even among the strong, is a reality. Yet the contrast is what matters. Those who seek the Lord do not experience the same outcome. This tells us something vital. Lack is not final, it is directional. It is not a death sentence. It's a divine signal pointing you to your real source. God sometimes allows lack to get our attention. It's His way of exposing the futility of depending on temporary things. When our plans, investments, or strength fail, we are forced to reassess what we're truly depending on. Lack can be painful, but it is purposeful when viewed through the lens of faith. Example, a man who built his entire identity on his job faced a sudden layoff. For months he struggled, no doors opened, no peace within. But when he began waking up each morning seeking God rather than checking job boards, something shifted. He received peace before provision. Then an opportunity came, completely unrelated to his past work, but perfectly aligned with his passion. That season of lack realigned his life with God's intention. There are moments when God removes comfort to redirect you to calling. If everything worked perfectly all the time, we'd never seek deeper. The discomfort of lack often pushes us into deeper intimacy with God. Many people only begin seeking God sincerely when every other source dries up. In 2 Kings 4, the widow of a prophet cried out in lack. She had nothing but a jar of oil. It was in her lack that she sought God through the prophet, and in seeking, she found overflow. The oil never ran out. Her miracle wasn't the absence of lack, but what her lack introduced her to, God's unlimited supply. If you're facing lack today, don't just ask, why me? Ask, what is this pointing me toward? Lack is the pause in your life where God invites you to rewrite the script, not end the story. Wisdom is the currency of heaven. While money meets needs temporarily, wisdom multiplies resources and sustains provision. Psalm 34:10 makes a distinction. Not only will seekers not lack material things, they won't lack any good thing. Wisdom is one of those good things, and it's given liberally to those who ask and seek. When you seek God, you're not just asking Him to fix your situation. You're asking Him to reveal how He sees your situation. That perspective changes everything. Divine wisdom allows you to see opportunities others overlook, to make decisions others don't understand, and to walk in peace while others panic. Example, a woman running a bakery in a small town couldn't compete with larger franchises. After a season of prayer and fasting, she received an idea during a devotional time. Create gluten-free, faith-based recipe books and host workshops in churches. That idea opened national doors. Her bakery became a ministry and a business. What gave her the edge wasn't alone. It was wisdom from seeking God. When Solomon was offered anything, he chose wisdom. In return, he received wealth, peace, and influence. Why? Because wisdom knows how to create and manage provision. Seekers of God don't just get help. They get heaven's strategy. God doesn't reward surface-level pursuit with deep insight. But for those who daily position themselves at His feet, wisdom flows freely. It comes through His word, His spirit, and even His silence. Some breakthroughs don't come from effort. They come from insight. Wisdom saves time. Wisdom spares energy. Wisdom protects from unnecessary pain. And those who seek God open themselves to an overflow of it, guiding their decisions, sharpening their vision, and increasing their capacity. Provision is not random. It is attached to assignment. When a person begins to seek God, they start discovering divine purpose. And when purpose becomes clear, provision begins to follow. God funds what he starts. He does not pour resources into a life that is moving aimlessly. He supplies where there is clarity of direction rooted in obedience to his will. Many people live in frustration because they are asking God to provide for plans he never authored. When you seek God, he shows you what you were created for, and then begins to provide for the fulfillment of that purpose. Seeking unlocks alignment, and alignment invites supernatural assistance. Real life example: a man spent years chasing various business ideas, but never experienced peace or profit. One day during extended prayer, he felt led to teach financial literacy to teenagers in low-income neighborhoods. He had no platform, no funding, and no team, but he had a conviction. As he obeyed, volunteers began to show up. A school district contacted him for a contract. Eventually, a foundation funded his entire curriculum. The provision came once he stepped into purpose. When Jesus fed the 5,000, he didn't start with resources. He started with compassion and purpose. The provision was drawn to the mission. There were only 5 loaves and 2 fish, yet everyone was satisfied. Why? Because when you align with heaven's purpose, heaven's provision follows. Seeking God isn't just about asking for what you want. It's about discovering what he wants through you. When you step into that, your needs become God's responsibility. Purpose shifts your prayers from "God bless what I'm doing" to "God, let me do what you are blessing." People who seek God begin to live with intentionality. They stop wasting time on ventures that only feed the ego and start investing energy in assignments that build the kingdom. And where the kingdom is being built, God never fails to supply. Provision shows up when purpose shows up. Not because God is reluctant, but because he's precise. He does not bless random ambition. He blesses assignment, driven obedience. The moment your life becomes a tool in his hand, provision becomes automatic. Psalm 34:10 says, "They that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing." The word "good" expands beyond money or possessions. It includes peace, health, protection, clarity, strength, favor, and divine connections. Seeking God opens the door to a life where your needs are not just met, but your soul is satisfied. People often define lack through a material lens, but many with wealth suffer from emotional drought, mental torment, or broken relationships. Seeking God addresses the root of lack, not just the fruit. He doesn't give temporary relief. He gives total restoration. Example: a corporate executive once confessed that despite his wealth, he battled insomnia, anxiety, and depression. A friend invited him to a prayer group. Reluctantly, he attended. Something shifted. As he continued to seek God, he found peace that pills couldn't offer. His marriage was healed. His joy returned. Not a dollar was added to his account, but abundance entered his soul. The greatest provision isn't money, it's the presence of God. When you have him, you receive what money can't buy: discernment, rest, hope, and the ability to endure storms without sinking. God's definition of goodness is holistic. He sees the heart, the mind, the spirit. While the world promises fulfillment through accumulation, God offers it through transformation. He knows what we need before we ask, and those who seek him receive more than just what they want. They receive what truly sustains. Seeking God doesn't mean you won't face challenges, but it guarantees you won't face them alone or unequipped. His goodness surrounds seekers like a shield, and his favor goes before them. When a person commits to seeking God, their entire thought system begins to shift. God doesn't just change circumstances, he transforms minds. Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." This is what happens when you seek him. You begin to think from a kingdom perspective rather than a worldly one. You stop measuring success by money, fame, or possessions. You start seeing value in purpose, obedience, and spiritual peace. A kingdom mindset helps you navigate challenges differently. You don't panic when problems arise. You perceive them through God's promises. You no longer depend on natural solutions alone. You draw from supernatural insight. This shift in thinking changes how you approach work, relationships, finances, and personal growth. Example, a young woman working in a competitive corporate environment used to be consumed by anxiety, constantly comparing herself with others. After a season of seeking God, through early morning devotionals and studying the Word, she stopped chasing titles and began praying over every decision. She became more confident, more joyful, and more focused. Her promotion came not through striving, but through wisdom and peace that made her stand out. When your mind is transformed by God's truth, you stop chasing what others value and start attracting what you're purposed for. You stop operating by the fear of lack and start moving with faith in God's timing. A kingdom mindset teaches that God is never late and that delay is not denial, it's development. This shift also affects how you handle finances. People with a kingdom mindset become stewards, not just spenders. They understand that resources are not just for personal gain, but for divine assignment. They begin to give generously, knowing that God's economy is never in recession. They invest in people, in purpose, in legacy, not just in luxury. God's kingdom operates on different rules. Seeking God exposes you to those rules. You begin to see abundance where others see limitation. You walk with favor where others fight with frustration. It's not magic hits mindset. Psalm 34 was written by David, a man who faced betrayal, war, rejection, and poverty. Yet he boldly declares that those who seek the Lord shall not lack any good thing. This isn't theory for David, it's testimony. He lived it. He had been hungry in caves, hunted like an animal, and surrounded by enemies. Yet he says, "I have never seen the righteous forsaken." God has a perfect history of faithfulness. Throughout Scripture, those who sought him were never left empty. Abraham left everything to follow God. He became the father of nations. Ruth sought the God of Naomi. She became part of the lineage of Christ. Daniel prayed 3 times a day. He gained favor in foreign kingdoms. Each of these stories reveals a pattern. God honors the seeker. Modern story. A father who had lost his job and had 3 children began waking up early to worship and read Scripture. He told no one of his struggle. One day, a friend called out of nowhere and offered him a project that covered 3 months of expenses. He said, "I never told anyone I was in need, but God knew." This is what seeking God does. It connects you to his system of supply. There is no record of a person who sought God sincerely and walked away empty. He may not respond how or when you expect, but he always responds. His provision is timely, his wisdom is precise, and his presence is constant. God's track record builds confidence. When you look back and see what he did before, you gain strength to trust him again. Seekers walk with a sense of security, not because of what they have, but because of who they follow. His record is flawless, and his care is consistent. Young lions, strong, skilled, self-reliant, may go hungry, but those who seek the Lord, those who shift their source, trust in his timing, pursue his presence, and align with his purpose, shall never lack any good thing. It's not a possibility, It's a promise, so stop chasing and start seeking, because everything you need is found in him. Let Psalm 34:10 become your reality, not just your memory verse.